The billionaire stood motionless at the edge of the cemetery, his polished leather shoes sinking slightly into the damp grass, his perfectly tailored gray coat feeling heavier than usual, as if grief itself had learned how to cling to fabric, and for the first time in years, money, power, and influence meant absolutely nothing to him, because no amount of wealth could silence the ache that lived in his chest every time he came here, every time he stood before the black marble gravestone. Engraved with his daughter's name, the daughter he had lost 3 years ago in a tragedy the newspapers had dissected but never truly understood, the daughter whose laughter once filled his mansion and whose absence now echoed louder than any empty room ever could, and he had come early this morning to be alone, to let the mask fall, to whisper apologies he was too proud to say out loud when she was alive, but as he approached the grave, something unexpected stopped him cold, because someone else was already there, kneeling, hunched over, dressed in a faded janitor's uniform, shoulders shaking, quietly sobbing, holding a small child close to his chest as if the world might steal the baby away if he loosened his grip even for a second, and the billionaire's first instinct was irritation. This was supposed to be private, sacred, but then he noticed the way the janitor's tears fell onto the same soil that covered his daughter, the way his grief seemed raw and unfiltered, not rehearsed or restrained like his own, and before he could stop himself, the billionaire spoke, his voice sharp, demanding, almost offended, asking what the man thought he was doing there, and the janitor slowly looked up, eyes red, face worn by years of quiet hardship, not fear but pain etched into every line, and instead of apologizing or fleeing, he simply said, in a voice barely above a whisper, that he had come to visit his wife, and the billionaire's anger flared, because this grave belonged to his daughter, his family, his blood, and yet the janitor gently shifted the baby in his arms and nodded toward the name carved in stone, saying that she was indeed the billionaire's daughter, but she was also the love of his life, the woman who had once seen him not as a janitor, not as a nobody, but as a man worthy of love, and the billionaire felt the ground tilt beneath him as memories surged back, arguments, ultimatums, his daughter crying as he forbade her from seeing that man, his insistence that love without status was a mistake she would regret, the night she stormed out, vowing to live her own life, and the years of silence that followed until the phone call that shattered everything, and as the janitor spoke, the story unfolded in fragments that stitched together a truth the billionaire had refused to see, how his daughter had chosen love over wealth, how she had married in secret, how she had worked quietly at a community center while pregnant, determined to build a life defined by kindness rather than inheritance, how the janitor, now revealed not as a stranger but as a husband and father, had promised to protect her from the world even when the world included her own father, how the accident that took her life had happened on an ordinary night filled with laughter and hope, leaving behind a man who grieved in silence and a child who would grow up never knowing her mother's voice, and the billionaire listened, truly listened, for the first time in years, as guilt tightened around his heart like a vice, realizing that while he had mourned his daughter's death, he had never truly mourned the life she had wanted, and when the baby stirred, small fingers curling around the janitor's collar, the billionaire saw his daughter's eyes staring back at him, not with accusation, but with innocent curiosity, and something inside him cracked completely, the walls he had built with money and pride collapsing under the weight of a single truth, that he had lost years he could never buy back, and in that moment, surrounded by gravestones and silence, the billionaire knelt down, not as a powerful man, but as a broken father, and for the first time, he asked for forgiveness, not from the dead, but from the living, and the janitor, though scarred by loss, did not turn away, because love, as his daughter had always believed, was not measured by status, but by the courage to choose compassion, and as the sun rose higher, casting warm light over the grave, the billionaire made a vow, not spoken aloud, but felt deep within, that this child would never feel abandoned, that wealth would finally serve a purpose greater than ego, that his daughter's legacy would live on not in buildings or bank accounts, but in the life of the child she left behind. And as the two men stood there together, united by love for the same woman, the cemetery no longer felt like a place of endings, but of beginnings, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful stories are born from loss, and if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love and humility matter more than riches, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more stories like this, stories that heal, inspire, and stay with you, are coming next.